Really big weekend of college football, particularly in the SEC. We're going to get to those picks as fast as we can. Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry, Ryan Curley, all here. The Jackets open up as an 11.5 point dog at home, Matt, to the Miami Hurricanes, who had a good win this past weekend. Who you got in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami. I think if I was doing a lock of the week, this one might be it. This is a little weird line to me. I think they're a lot better than Georgia Tech. And, Ryan and I watched last week, and they had Duke beat, and they decided to keep scoring points, keep pushing the ball down the field. They want to score a lot of points, too many points at times. So I think they're a lot better than 11.5 points against Georgia Tech. I'd be a little surprised if Miami did not cover. Maybe I'm missing something, Ryan, but I think Miami should be able to handle that pretty well.
Yeah, they for me it was good because I had that big Miami cover last week, so I was rooting for it. But they'll just continued to drop back and just let it fly, even though they had the game under control. So I like them to cover against a team that they're definitely better than. Right, this Tech team is solid. They're moving in the right direction, but Miami, like they're the four. They've got a lot. They've got a lot more to play for. They've got a lot more to play for. They're going to be trying to win big.
Well, Tech is hoping to get Haynes King back. We'll see. That may be why this line is. I don't know. I mean, I think Miami's clearly the better team. I'll take the Canes as well. Miami has certainly the Virginia Tech game, the Duke game, the Cal game. There have been plenty of moments this season where Miami has just you're like, what is happening right now? So I don't think that's out of the question for the Canes. But as you said, they're ranked fourth, which was a little aggressive for me. But I don't know, y'all. I mean, there was one other game Miami played. I think that was a little bit odd to me.
Cal, Virginia Tech, Duke.
The Louisville game,
Louisville.
I guess.
Kind of
They only beat
shootouts.
Louisville by 7 on the road. I can't hate that. It was the Cal game, the Virginia Tech game, which they basically lost. Tech. For me, it's not there right now. But the Jackets, they close with a great schedule. I mean, got Miami and Georgia here at the end of the season. They could certainly ruffle some feathers with that one. They also host NC State, Georgia Tech, as this season goes on. The Gators will travel to Texas. It's a curious one. Look, I'm going to take the Gators here, Ryan. I think that's a lot of points. I know it's on the road. I think Florida is playing fine. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. I think that I know that sounds bizarre, but DJ Lagway wasn't doing a lot against Georgia anyway himself. I think they were certainly functional against Georgia. They probably don't score a lot against Texas, but they didn't score a lot against Georgia, and they hung in there in the end with them.
I got Texas. I even if Lagway doesn't play, then I definitely feel good about Texas covering this line. But if he does, maybe not as much. Texas obviously not playing as well as since that Mississippi State game, right? That's when their play kind of started to teeter off. It's been a while, but I think the off week will be good for the Longhorns. They're at home. They need some momentum. This Florida team, look, Georgia was more than not during the game, but they were more than 14 points better than Florida, and I think Texas is as well. I kind of expect a blowout.
By the way, let me just say this, Matt. He is not ruled out for Florida yet. So that's what Billy Napier said this week. So we'll just see.
Yeah, just too many points for me. I think Texas wins the game, but 21.5 is a lot. I think Florida could match them in the trenches. The Gators obviously know how to, make plays in coverage against the pass. They can intercept the ball. We saw that they play tough, they play physical, and they made Georgia earn it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they came out fighting and played a Texas team that may not be as tough and physical as maybe we thought earlier in the year. So I think the Gators lose, but a little tighter than people think. Just a lot of points. I'm going to take the Gators to cover that.
All right, Matt. The Clemson Tigers traveled to Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech. This is a 3:30 game, playing right when Georgia does, except it's on ESPN. The Clemson Tigers are a 6.5 point favorite at Virginia Tech.
A little bit of a bounce back week for the Tigers. I think they got a big dose of reality last week at home. They just weren't ready, weren't prepared. I think they've got a real slim chance of getting into the playoffs. I don't want to say it's 100% over, so there's still a little bit to play for, possibly, if they can sneak their way in, but they're going to have to win some big games and look impressive. So season's still on the line a little bit for the Tigers. I expect them to play like it on the road. I think they can win that game by a touchdown or so, Ryan. Give me Clemson to cover.
Season's not over, but I think it will be after this weekend. I've got Virginia Tech. I think that they might win straight up. I really like Virginia Tech's running back. There's a lot of good running backs in college football this year, and this draft is going to be filled with a lot of good running backs. Someone that nobody's talking about is that I don't know how to say his first name, but his last name's Tootin, and he runs all over the place. He's good. Kyron Drones is good. Virginia Tech, I think they're a little bit better than their record says. They're at home. I like taking. I don't think Clemson's that much better than them. I'll take the points.
Well, I think they are that much better than them. I'm just not sure if.
Are they?
Well,
are they really?
I don't really know. Right. I thought Clemson would struggle with NC State, Louisville this past week. I didn't think they get kind of the dog walked on them, and that's what happened. And I'll take Clemson here to cover.
I just like the line. 6.5 is a lot different than.
It's a tad low for me. Virginia Tech has played they've looked pretty poor at times. And then they hung in there with Miami. I don't know what that means about Miami. South Carolina travels to Nashville. I think SEC Shorts is going to be up there, which would be hilariously awesome. More chaos in Nashville. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but I think South Carolina is a better team for sure. I'll take South Carolina to win and to cover this 3.5, Matt. Vanderbilt's fine, whatever, but Carolina could get a little bit that could look a lot better by the end of the season.
Yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence right now, even on the road. I think if they can get just average to good quarterback play, I think that defense will really help them. And I think it'll be tough for Vanderbilt to move the ball on that front seven. If South Carolina is getting after it and they come ready to play, I think this could be a really nice win for them. I think they get it done by 7 or 10 points or so like that. So I think Vandy keeps it tough. They are a tough, kind of gritty team. But again, I think South Carolina is better. They're more talented. They're playing well. And I really like that defense to give Vanderbilt some trouble, Ryan. So I'm going to take Carolina on the road, which is crazy because usually when they're coming off a massive win, they're going to turn around and pee down their leg. But I'm going to take Carolina anyway.
This is the one I've had the toughest time with when looking at all this. But I'm going to go with South Carolina as well. I think they are playing well. I think they're about this close to being a top 15 team, top 12 team. And I think that will show. The defense is good. I like the backfield tandem of Sellers and Rocket Sanders. Good story. I think this is not going to be I agree with Matt. That 7 to 10 point range is kind of what I think it'll be.
Yeah, Carolina definitely playing better. We've got what's left of Florida State playing at Notre Dame, Ryan. Florida State is a 26-point dog in South Bend. 26 points. Florida State's won in whatever they are.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the only times I'll take Notre Dame to cover a big line. There's not much else to say. Florida State's it's a shocking fall from what it was a year ago. I don't know that anyone could have predicted what's going on. I've got the Irish, reluctantly.
Yeah, I can't pick Florida State. I'm not doing it. They're a bunch of losers. That's all they do. They don't know how to win. It's embarrassing. Just a pathetic season. Beyond embarrassing. But there's no way I could pick them. Notre Dame rolls. They have a chance to embarrass Florida State this weekend, I think. They're playing really well. Seems like they're playing a little better and better. So I think that defense is going to put the clamps on Florida State. They're not going to be able to do much. I think Notre Dame rolls, Dean. Big win for the Irish.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame as well. I mean, Florida State is horrific. I don't know if 26 is enough. Battle of the Beehive State. BYU goes to Utah. BYU is a 4-point favorite to win this game on the road. It's a late ESPN game. I'm going to take Utah. I don't think they're going to... Look, BYU, I think, is a team that, I'm not expecting to win the national championship or necessarily even play in the semifinals or anything like that. But they could get to the semifinals, and just because all I gotta do is going to win one game if they win the Big 12. I just, after a while, you're just kind of like, at some stage you lose a tough game. This is a tricky game. It's against a rival or whatever they are. I don't know how that works out there, to be honest with you. But I'll take Utah. I think Utah. Kyle Whittingham is a really good coach. BYU is a really good team, I think. But I'll take the Utes in this case, Ryan.
Yeah, this was another tough one, but I think I'm going to go BYU. I get it. I want to take Utah in this game. It makes a lot of sense for this to be a game where the Cougs slip up, but Utah, man, they cannot score. They can stop you from scoring, but they cannot score themselves. I think they've only put up 20 points once in the last 4 or 5 games, and that's not good enough for me. BYU is battle tested. They've won huge games games. They've won some big games both in and outside the conference, prime time. So one of them being on the road, I will take BYU. They've just proven more.
Yeah, that's a really tough place to play, especially at night. It just feels different. That's a great atmosphere. These two teams do not like each other. Utah's lost 4 straight games. They haven't won a game, I think, since like late September. They're not scoring points. I think BYU is a much better football team. They're playing for more, and I think they're going to go over there. And I'm not sure the atmosphere is going to be great, and it's going to help. I just don't think Utah is very good right now, and they don't have that toughness that I feel like they normally have year in and year out. Just seems a little different. BYU's playing well. I'm going to take the Cougars on the road to cover that one.
It'll be Saturday night in Death Valley, Alabama, LSU. These last two, we got Georgia, Ole Miss, we got Alabama, LSU. Both these games are tight. The road team has about a field goal line to cover. Ryan, Alabama goes to LSU. Needless to say, it's all on the line for both Bama and LSU in this game. The loser, I just don't see a 3-loss team getting out in there. Not these 3 losses, at least.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? This game at night, one of the best environments in college football is probably this game played where it's going to be at night. I don't trust either team. I think that's probably been well established for the 3 of us this entire season. They're not trustworthy, as are a lot of the schools. But I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take LSU. I don't feel great about it. Something tells me that look, man, the Alabama brand and everything is more where it's like, okay, this is a game that Alabama just doesn't lose, and this would be huge. It'd be huge to see them lose 3 games and have the stark contrast between the last decade and then this season. And I kind of think it's going to happen. I'll take LSU, a little bit of a bounce back for them.
Yeah, I'm not going to overthink this one. I could probably go back and forth for an hour if I wanted to in my head who's going to win, but I'm going to take LSU at night in Death Valley. I think that crowd could be a huge factor against Jalen Milroe and an offensive line where if they start going backwards, it's going to be tough to put some drives together. And if he starts making mistakes, turn the football over, that's how LSU is going to win. I think there's a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly to not let Kalen DeBoer, first-year Alabama, come into their house at night with the season on the line and win that game. I think LSU is going to be ready. I think that crowd is going to be obviously into it, one of the toughest places to play. And, again, this is not the same Alabama team we're used to. I can totally see Jalen Milroe getting rattled a little bit, that offense making mistakes, and this thing may be stumbling. But I do think it's going to be a close game, Dean. But I'm going to take the Tigers at night. Not going to overthink this one too much.
Well, I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to take Alabama. I think I might be making the wrong pick, but I just watched LSU play Ole Miss. LSU, well, both of them. LSU is sloppy, and they consistently make mistakes. I don't know. I really don't know. But Alabama has played better lately. I mean, the Missouri game, if you want to call it played better lately, they really look much similar to what they've been in the past in the Missouri game. They're just kind of It wasn't spectacular or anything like that. I get the feeling like sometimes maybe Jalen Milroe and Carson, and Jackson Dart, and definitely Nussmeier. Sometimes these quarterbacks are trying to do the spectacular when there's no reason to. And Jalen Milroe definitely can do the spectacular. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't know, man. I'm taking Alabama, but I'm extremely, I'm just not. I really don't have a great feel for that game. I think if I were Alabama, there's a lot of pressure on everybody in this game. But if I'm Alabama and you immediately you're not going to the playoff, you've got a couple games left. I think they got Mercer and then Oklahoma and Auburn. Those games will become immediately meaningless. There will be a huge pitchfork convention outside of Bryant Denny for Kalen DeBoer. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Alabama. Now, if they're not dead after this game, then you've got everything to play for. I still don't think these guys win the national championship. They're not consistent enough, none of that stuff. So I'm sorry I talked so long. That one's a tricky one for me too. And I'll go first on Georgia Ole Miss here too. I definitely think Georgia can lose this game. I watched Ole Miss. I'd like to watch them a little bit more. They were better than Ole Miss. They were better than LSU and lost. That was like a shocking thing to me. They don't run real well. It's not great. Like Jackson Dart can make plays, but he's not been scoring productive great in the SEC. Let me still formulate what I'm going to go with here, Matt. You go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I'm liking Georgia's chances more and more as the season goes along. We know they can win games like this. We know that they can bring an elite defense on the road. I think that if Georgia can create some pressure on an Ole Miss offensive line that's really not that great, Jackson Dart's going to make mistakes. He doesn't have a ton of interceptions, but he threw 3 or 4 balls in that LSU game, kind of up for grabs that could have been picked. So I think, Georgia's got these pass rushers. And if Glenn Schumann can dial up a scheme that can get them into the backfield like they did against Texas, I think there's a chance Ole Miss could really struggle moving the football, especially if they can't, hit those vertical passes deep down the field. They're going to try to stretch the field. And if you're Georgia, you've got to have that pressure, force him into some mistakes. I think a low-scoring game, Ryan. I think 28-20. I think their defense will give Georgia some trouble here and there. And Georgia's still banged up. I know they're going to get ETN back, but would like to see maybe Tate Ratledge play a little bit more. I know he was sore throughout that Florida game. Obviously wasn't 100%, but I'm thinking like a 28-20 type of game. 4-quarter game, going to be close, Ryan, but I think Georgia's the better team, and I just don't trust Ole Miss to win a big game like this against
We're back
the Dogs.
to trust. We're back to trust.
As a team or a program right now, they're too inconsistent. They're losing to Kentucky one week. Yeah. They have a really impressive win against South Carolina the next. Just a little too up and down. I'm not taking anything what they did from Arkansas seriously. They're not going to put up almost 700 yards of total offense and 63 points on Georgia's defense, Ryan. And I'll let you talk now, just getting that out there. I like Georgia's chances, basically.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that Georgia can't play that much worse than it's been. It's too talented to.
It can always get worse, Ryan.
It can definitely be worse, but they're good. They're good to the point where it'd have to be a total goose egg. It'd have to be a total no-show, I think, for it to really look worse than it's been. And we're talking about mostly on the offensive side of the football. I think if Georgia kind of plays a vanilla football game and comes in with a pretty simple game plan, this is not an environment that's going to be too big for them. They played at Alabama this year. They played at Texas this year. Those were elite environments, and those teams want to show. And defensively, Georgia got smacked a little bit in one of them, and then in the other one, they did the smacking. Like Matt said, I don't see why the defense wouldn't travel. I think that Ole Miss can totally score on this Georgia defense. I think that they can push the ball vertically. I think they've got really good receivers, and really good receivers typically give Georgia problems, and they have this year as well. So I don't think Georgia's going to go in there and blow out Ole Miss. But look, the line is only 2.5, guys. I mean, we're picking the line here. And so to me, that's easy. Georgia winning by a field goal. I don't know how much they're going to win by. I'm not super concerned about Ole Miss. You saw last year their scheme, what it looked like in Athens, and they got crushed. And the person that scored their touchdowns is not there anymore, right? Quinshon Judkins, and they don't have that type of presence either to go along with their passing game. The talent on the outside is really, really good, but if they disrupt Dart a little bit, it's going to be a long day for him.
All right, so two things. I do want to rebut what you just said as it relates to Quinshon Judkins. Well, it's not really rebutting that part about Judkins, but the challenge that Georgia's going to have, Ole Miss's defensive line is noticeably better than last year. Like, it might be the best in the league, just the line. Like, it's really good. It's not like it's better than Kentucky's, I think. It's better than Clemson's. So it's just better. The other challenge, speaking to some of what y'all are talking about, Jackson Dart has thrown only a touchdown. He's thrown a touchdown or fewer in every single SEC game except the Arkansas game. So he's thrown for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception in every game in SEC play that wasn't the Arkansas game. So that's 4 other games. He's gone 3-1. Adequate. The 2 games he lost in that time, he got sacked 6 times against LSU. He got sacked 4 times against Kentucky. Amazingly, the best sack team in the league, or at least the best pressure team, South Carolina, they only sacked him once. So I think Dart, just like Carson, can be up and down. It depends on when you play. They did not look good against Oklahoma. They should never lost LSU, and they did. I got to go watch Kentucky. We watched it a little bit as we drove, but just to me, they can beat Georgia, and I think it's. I mean, based on the way they played against LSU, they can beat Georgia for sure. I don't know. Georgia's got to play better, and they're not. I mean, like, for me to be like, oh, for sure they're going to cover a 3-point line or 2.5 point line. That's my hesitation with it. I'll fall in line, but I'm not in love with it. I'll take Georgia too. I'm just saying there are some. This Ole Miss defense is better than it was last year by a lot. The offense, I don't know. Like, I don't know. They scored 26 against Oklahoma, 26 against LSU, 27 against Carolina, 17 against Kentucky, and 63 against Arkansas. I mean, like, Georgia's had, I think, one team scored 30 on them, Matt. Is that right? Alabama?
Did State come close?
And State. So people aren't exactly running up and down the field on them, but this might be a matchup game where this is the wrong matchup for Ole Miss to get, but they're playing at home. I mean, I'm just out there saying, this game might be harder than people want to admit that it will be. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.